Hi, Henrik Knudsen. I would like to add a few comments to the readings up to this coming lecture on the 26th. And we'll start with some questions answers that you may have to the two readings in chapter 18. Then we will have some questions answers to the screencast, and then I want 3 comments from you individually. Check this link, and while checking it, reading it, listening through it, reflect on it, and bring 3 comments with you on Monday. Following that, I want to discuss, or I want you to apply the entry modes on the next 2 slides. And the next 2 slides, entry modes, compare these to figure 18.1 in the reading for today. Because essentially, there are 2 different ways of expressing exactly the same. So the next following 2 slides and figure 18.1 are actually completely different in the way they're communicating, but what they're actually telling is exactly the same. So compare the 2 and reflect on this. Then we'll be discussing, I want to address a question where he'll discuss whether looking at the world as a single entity or multiple entities. So when we're talking about international business, should we see the world as one single entity geographically that we can enter in the same manner, or is it multiple different ways to enter a market? Not surprisingly, I greatly recommend the latter, multiple entities. This is this is the 2 slides I want you to compare with the slide on or the illustration on figure 18.1. I will also be challenging you to use these 2 slides with different. So I'll divide you into groups, and then each group will be given a few of these export modes, or a few of these modes, and trying to see how does it fit with your case, and what are the pros and cons in general. So let's turn to the question of the world as a single entity, which in my opinion is a little the approach that Hill has in the readings, recognizing there can be differences, but there is this preference, in my opinion, towards seeing it as a single entity, and probably also due to the cases that he uses to exemplify it. So these are very large organizations with a unique brand and more or less a unique product. And the advantage for the company looking at a single entity is it's much more advantageous, it's much more beneficial in a product return of investment perspective. The question is, as I see it, that he doesn't challenge it, because what is a potential market if you don't look at it as a single entity? So you have to be able to compare the 2 to be able to see which is the preferable. And of course it's very difficult because it's 2 different scenarios, 2 different ways of approaching. So it's a question of arguing your case and making a choice, and then finding the best effort. What Hill also does in this chapter is he selects a few of the 7 P's. If we look at the start learning objectives, it might make sense to vary the product. So that's the first P. Learning 1802. This is the distribution strategy. The next one is a promotion strategy, and the fourth one is the pricing. Essentially, you might as well have said, and he does mention it, the marketing mix, because the marketing mix, i.e. the 7 Ps, is of course the basis of trying to regulate that you can make changes on when you're entering a new market. So you have a choice when entering new markets. One is how to get into the market, and the second is moving into the market. What is your marketing mix in one market as opposed to the next? So would your marketing mix be the same as moving into Italy as when you move into, for example, China? And I would dare to argue no, because they are two different entities that must be treated differently, and therefore having each their combination, unique combination of the 7 Ps: product, price, place, promotion, and typically for services. Those first four are typical ones usually used for products, and then people, physical evidence, and process. So make sure you have this understanding that one is how to enter the market, and two, when entering the market, how are you going to make your marketing mix. This marketing mix is also, and please note down, this is the way that you're going to differentiate the company. So which segments are you going to choose, and how is differentiation? These are the areas on which you typically can choose to make a differentiation. Also within the country, if you have several segments. Just to repeat it. So once in the country, the country that is a new market, international business, then all organizations, all companies have to find out which segments do we have in this country. Each of the segments also have their unique combination of a marketing mix, because that's the way we define segments, that they're unique, they differ to other segments on some aspects, whether they want a different product, they want a cheaper price, more expensive, they want it sold in a different place, we have to use different promotion activity towards them, the interaction with our front office people is different, the environment that we're selling it in is different, all the way that the channels that we use to get out to our customers may be different. So segmentation and differentiation and 7 Ps, those three go together. Oops. That was it. Let's move on to the next slide, and I would like to address some of the additional issues in chapter 18. And I'll be putting out another extra slide with 7 Ps to 7 Cs. I'm not sure I have the time to address them all, so I will be challenging you on this 7 P to 7 Cs and this extra slide that I'll put out along with this this PowerPoint and screencast. Then he'll also mentions the push or pull, and this is a different interpretation of push and pull that is to what usually is used in the literature, and it differs in the sense that Hill says a push strategy is a push marketing strategy where it's personal selling, whereas a pull strategy is a marketing strategy where there's mass communication, mass media used to I don't quite like his use of this theory, push or pull. In my opinion, push is more when you have a product as a service that you're pushing onto the market and getting the market to accept. Whereas a pull is when the market is asking for, demanding certain products or services. E.g., at the moment, there's a pull for environmental friendly goods, products, services. There's also a pull for green technology. These are pull effects. And push is then if you have an organization has something that is not actually on demand at the market, but where it creates this demand. So this is a very different interpretation as the one that Hill has with push or pull. Please be attentive to this distinction. And make sure that you have a look at figure 18.2 and fully understand it concerning price elasticity. It's important to understand what is elasticity within this pricing, because this is a very, very important issue when we're changing our price strategy or even setting the price strategy. Being observant as to if we change the price 10% one or the other way, will this also change the demand one or the other way? So in that case, it would be a fully elastic price, so full price elasticity. Make sure you know it and understand it. And could also add, Hill also has experience curve pricing, saying that as companies grow in scale and as they're used to producing, then they're capable of lowering their price and eliminating competitors. This is a question, a strategic question, a strategic decision for the company, because quite often, yes, there's a experience curve and there's this mass production benefits, but does a company want to give this benefit to its customers, or does it want to reap the extra profit for itself? Many other companies choose the latter, so they increase their return of investment, their profit, even though they could have reduced it. In some cases, if it's a strategy, it could go and say, okay, let's have this, use the pricing strategy to kill off some more competitors, and in that way increase our market share. Strategic choices. Finally, this is not mentioned in the readings, but I would like to add, it could also be the PLC pricing. I'll put you in small groups and get you to come with some consideration concerning the product life cycle. So which pricing strategies do we have depending on where we are on the PLC? In my opinion, a very important issue also. Which brings us to the last slide, and I want you to have a very close look at this last slide, because this is a slide that we'll be using as an exercise on Monday, because this is a development from Hill concerning this using all the 7 Ps. This is some other important issues, mainly on marketing and price. And this is, in my opinion, a much more overall view of all the different considerations that an organization, a company can do when moving into a new market. So this, a plus means it increases the internalization in the sense that it adds for a more hierarchical approach, where the minus speaks for a more externalization of the entry mode. It's a tricky illustration to understand, but have a go at it, look it through, and see you Monday. Thank you.